Like I promised from the Budget Ragnaloardmon Starter Deck guide video, today we're going to showcase you guys the full potential of this deck. Hello Digimon players and fans, welcome back to another Digimon deck profile and in-depth building guide video. But first things first, if you haven't done so yet, be sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on that notification bell right now. If you guys are new or currently playing the Digimon card game and want to learn more about awesome deck profiles and combo guides and epic battles as well, this is the perfect place to be. Also, definitely give this video a like because I really greatly appreciate the support, but also if you haven't seen the budget deck profile for Ragnaloardmon Starter Deck guide yet, be sure to check that out first because we covered a lot of basics in that video which you're going to need to understand for this video here. So we all know that the brand new Ragnaloardmon is arguably one of the best level 7s that is extremely good at finishing games. It can usually take your opponents by surprise, especially if they only have a few securities left where you can trash all of them and swing for game with its Blitz capability. However, getting there is fairly difficult because it requires you to commit 2 level 6s, one being a black one and the other one being a red one for you to get there. Paying for its Digivolution requirements isn't really the issue, but getting there effectively and quickly really is. Many of the cards from the brand new starter deck are very usable, and there isn't too much changes that you can actually make to add to it. However, I will say the updated version probably looks very similar to the budget version too. But there are some very key important aspects because there's certainly a couple of cards that you should include to fine-tune the deck even further. Some of those extra cards help this deck achieve some really good combos and is really geared towards facing against the current meta decks as well. But with that being said, let's just jump straight into the deck profile and show you guys what I got for you today. Okay, to start off with Digi Eggs, we do have the 4 copies of Sakudomon being the best egg for the deck, coming from the starter deck as well. And yeah, every time when you do play another Digimon with Legend Arms, you gain a memory, and 4 copies of this is really all you need. You don't need a 5th egg for this deck whatsoever. Okay, let's jump into the rookies. And first and foremost, we have the 4 copies of Zubamon. Like I mentioned in my Ragnaloardmon Starter Deck video guide, all these level 3s and level 4s that you play from the starter deck pretty much do the same thing where on play you add it underneath one of your Legend Arms and then they have different various effects. The rookies usually reveal the top 1 card of your deck. If it's a 7 cost or less of Legend Arms, you get to play it. Otherwise, you basically add it to your hand. And Zubamon's inherited is that when attacking, you can delete something that's 3000 DP or less. So very, very simple right there. For Ludamon, it does exactly the same thing as Zubamon does. Instead of a black Digimon, you can put it underneath one of your red Digimon. But ideally, everything you play has Legend Arms anyway, so you're going to be placing it underneath your Legend Arms. Also, revealing the top card of your deck. If it's a 7 cost or less, you get to play it as long as it's Legend Arms. Otherwise, you add it to your hand. This one gives inheritable blocker during your opponent's turn. Then we actually play this classic, good old Ludamon from BT3. Now, the reason why this card is just really good is because it's on play, it searches. It goes through 5 cards of your deck. You can add 1 Ragnaloardmon and 1 Digimon card with Legend Arms, and you place everything else to the bottom. So being able to, consistently get your hits and searches off this card when you every time when you hard play this guy is just really, really valuable and really good. And you definitely want to maximize 4 copies of it as well. Moving into level 4s, we're gonna play 4 copies of Zuba Eagermon. Just like Zubamon itself, on play you add it underneath and underneath a Legend Arms, and you get to delete something that's a 5000 DP or less. Exactly same inheritable as Zubamon. When attacking, delete a 3000 DP or less. Then we got 4 copies of Tealudamon. Just like Ludamon, on play you place it underneath a Legend Arms, and then this one gives it reboot until the end of your opponent's next turn, which is really good, and also gives it inheritable blocker as well. Now moving into our level 5s. We got the 4 copies of Duramon and the 4 copies of Raigiludamon. Both these guys have the end of turn DNA inheritable, which really helps you turbo into your Ragnaloardmon much more easier and much more quicker, which is why you definitely want to maximize 4 copies of it both. Duramon helps reduce your Digivolution costs. Raigiludamon just basically prevents your opponent's deletion effects during the opponent's turn, which doesn't really come up as much, but it's a kind of nice protection to have as a main effect anyways. So yeah. Let's now talk about level 6s. You definitely want to play 4 copies of Duramon. I would say he's like your core middle boss Digimon other than Ragnaloardmon, because he just gives you so much value. He does so many things for you, which is really, really good. He can gain security +1, extra 3000 DP, as long as you put something underneath him under the sources once per turn, which is really, really good. When attacking, you get to basically reveal the top 3, kind of like searching by playing stuff that's 7 cards or less, and then you can use your level 3s and your level 4s to place underneath him, which is really good. Very great inheritable because it is a built-in ADP for the deck as well. Then of course, you definitely want to have 4 copies of Baihumon, who is your partner with Durandamon to help you get into your Ragnaloardmon. Also, just your turn, once per turn, when one of your effects places a Digimon underneath this guy's sources, it gets basically like a protection, cannot be returned by opponent's hand, or cannot be deleted by effects until the end of the next turn, which is very, very nice. When Digivolving, very similar to Durandamon, you get to go through the top 3 cards, play something that's 7 cards or less, and then add it underneath this guy, and then you basically get to get its main first effect. And then also giving an inheritable where it's not affected by opponent's Digimon effects, which is very, very interesting, and this is a very good, cool protection that not many have seen before. But yeah, you definitely want to see 4 copies of this guy as well. We're not done with level 6s this time. This is where the real interesting spice really comes in. We actually have 2 copies of Baihumon. Baihumon is a very good addition to this deck and is actually very most suited to be in the Ragnaloardmon deck overall. Baihumon can unsuspend up to 2 of your opponent's Digimon or Tamers, and then you gain 1 memory each when you do Digivolve for every unsuspended Digimon or Tamer that they have. Currently in this meta, it's lots of people playing whiteboards, and Baihumon is just a super good card to sort of punish and counter against those kind of decks. Bloomlordmon, Jessmon, and so on, right? And then we have end of turn, your turn. For every 2 of your unsuspended Digimon or Tamers that your opponent has in play, you trash 1 card on top of their security stack. And that's actually a really cool end of turn combo where you can combo with Baihumon and then somehow get into your Ragnaloardmon, and you can just basically trash a lot of your opponent's security and potentially even swing him for game, which is absolutely insane. Which is why 2 copies is really good. The only kind of downside with this card is, keep in mind, it can only Digivolve on top of black, meaning that you can only Digivolve on top of Ragnaloardmon, so be careful and make sure that you're only doing that, which does hurt the consistency a little bit, but Baihumon is just so strong when you do pull that combo off, which is really, really cool, and I can't wait to show you guys, so definitely stick around for that. Okay, for level 7s, this time it's going to be a little bit different. In the original starter deck, I played 4 Ragnaloardmons or 3. You kind of want to maximize the copies of that because you really want to focus on that now. There's a very good reason why I actually felt like I want to decrease the number of it. Ragnaloardmon, to me, in this particular deck, is really just about a finishing gameplay. My strategy is really not trying to turbo into him as soon as possible, because it's just very difficult to get there, and it's very difficult to force yourself to play like that, I feel like. I kind of want to play a bit more control-y a little bit, be a little bit more diverse with my plays, especially using my Durandamon to chip early on. And then I feel like Ragnaloardmon, I see 2 copies is really all I need, because I ever in most game situations, I only actually play 1, and that's the one that I play for the game finishing move once again. So I don't feel like I need more copies. There's actually quite a sufficient amount of searching and draw power in this deck that can help you get into him as needed, but there's actually a lot of games I actually don't even really need to get into Ragnaloardmon overall, because Durandamon actually does a great job itself. And we all know how strong this guy really is. We DNA with 2 level 6s, 1 red, 1 black all together. It has Blitz, trashing your opponent's security, deleting stuff with 20 play cost or less, basically almost anything, and can unsuspend. Ragnaloardmon is just super powerful, but that's not all for the level 7s. I have some more space, and that is also the other reason why I decided to only play lesser of the new one, is because I want to reserve 1 space for this old one. This card is super underrated because I actually really like early game aggression rather than the late game aggression instead. And this OG Ragnaloardmon from BT3 provides you exactly that. I sometimes want to add more copies of this card, but deck space is definitely tight and I don't want to be too heavy on my top end, which is why 1 works very well as a tech for now, but you guys can actually add up to 2. First and foremost, this guy digivolves with 3 on top of level 6. Which is really, really good. It can digivolve on top of black or red, meaning it can go on top of your Durandamon or your Baihumon. It has security +1. It has reboot. But not only that, when digivolving, you can place 1 Durandamon or Baihumon from your hand on top of this Digivolution sources, and you gain the 3 memory back, effectively making this guy for free when you Digivolve. He's got 14k DP himself, super strong. With the reboot, you can do combos with your blockers in your stack, and not to mention, you get both Durandamon and Ragnaloardmon's inheritables. So getting this guy off in early game is actually super strong and super good. And that's why this card is actually really good, and I really like it, and I feel it's super underrated. And I think many Ragnaloardmon players out there should actually add more of this. But that's just my personal opinion. And yeah, really cool card. That's it for all of our Digimon. Let's talk about our Tamers. 3 copies of Izzy. Izzy just synergizes so well with this deck. Although you don't always reveal the top 3 cards being black so that you can gain the memory back, but it's really about revealing the top few cards, setting up and comboing together with your sort of revealing combos and your searching combos, and sort of your gotcha combos when you're trying to pull it off. So Izzy's really what he's there for, and you do want to have your memory Tamers as efficient as possible so you don't get memory choked. But that's it for the Tamers. Let's talk about options. 4 copies of Legends Arm Alliance. Super great card, really great for dedicated for this deck, because the first thing is that it lets you play a play cost 7 or less directly from your hand. That's Legend Arms for free, which is really good, because you immediately get to hard slam your level 5 and you can just apply a lot of pressure, turbo into your 6s as quickly as you can, and then you can get into your Ragnalordmon a little bit sooner, whichever you want to do so, which is really good. Delay helps you with your sort of gotcha game searching a little bit, you know, allowing you to sort of like plan ahead with your combos, which is really nice. Not to mention the security effect is also just super good. Does exactly the same thing as what the main does. And then, yeah, so that's the reason why I maximize 4 copies. Then, sort of the older, really good, reliable cards we have is definitely 2 copies of Black Memory Boost, Searching, extra memory for more combo plays, once again, just really good. The reason why I opted in for Black Memory Boost over Red Memory Boost is simply because we do play a black base egg. So essentially, we don't want to be like breaking on that. So then we always want to make sure that we can be able to play this card more efficiently and more effectively. And yeah, searching for black cards is totally cool as well. That's it for the 50 card main deck that I want to showcase. But let's talk about some other really cool choices that you can actually consider adding into this deck overall. The first and foremost card right here is actually from BT10, Baihumon. Baihumon actually helps you de-digivolve very quickly. It does cost 4 to play, which is a little bit expensive, but usually you want to be playing it via your Legend Arms effects through the gacha and searching. And then also it has inheritable, allowing you to search a little bit more as well, which is not too bad. But yeah, I felt like this card is sometimes a little bit underwhelming. I don't feel like it's really needed. It doesn't really provide me the consistency I'm looking for. But if you guys do want to add in one more just simply because you want to see more rookies or whatnot, 1 copy, 1 tech is not too bad. Next, I have Ragnaloardmon and the old Ragnaloardmon. Both of these guys are from BT3. Really cool because first they both provide you the inheritable of when attacking. If it's a level 7 Digimon, you get to de-digivolve your opponent's Digimon. Being able to stack these 2 together sometimes, you can de-digivolve twice when you do attack with Ragnalord, is actually really cool. Now, the only downside with this card is they have to strictly be digivolved on top of black Digimon, which is kind of unfortunate because then this makes your stack building process a little bit awkward, and you're going to have to be hard playing these guys instead via different effects. So that's the reason why I didn't really want to include these guys here overall, but you guys can definitely experiment and let me know if it works out for you. Next, I got some really cool spice right here, and some of you guys may expect it, some of you guys may not. Very unusual. We can actually play Black Wargreymon in this deck as an alternative level 6 as well. Black Wargreymon synergizes with this deck surprisingly well. The main reason is because that this guy right here is both black and red itself as a Digimon, which is really cool. It's a very good meta call in general because when digivolving, you can pop Tamers, you can pop Digimon, you can be very flexible with your choices, and it can very easily become the blocker that you need with the help of Ludomon and Ragnaloardmon's inheritable as well, fulfilling exactly what Black Wargreymon does best anyways, and even helping you further fulfill your DNA requirement for Ragnaloardmon. So you're being very flexible because it can digivolve on top of both red and black. And yeah, you guys should definitely try Black Wargreymon in this build as well because it's very interesting and it's super cool. Let's move into some other options. For defensive, Ultimate Flare, really great. We all know that this card is just a very good removal for black in general. And then we also have Congo, otherwise, you know, just really good for stopping your opponent. This deck is a little bit slower compared to other decks, where especially the fast-paced ones, where Congo can really help you buy yourself a turn and stop and slow down the game pace a little bit, which is quite decent as well. And it can definitely be very surprising when your opponent checks into it at security, because then it can, make it game changing very much. So yeah, these are all the other options and all the other cards I have to suggest for you guys that you can consider when building this deck. Okay, that wraps up for all the cards I want to talk about and showcase you guys. Let's jump straight into the combos right here. But just before I jump into combos, there are a lot of combos which I actually covered already in the starter deck guide video for the Ragnaloardmon video guide. So if you guys haven't watched that yet, definitely be sure to watch that. A lot of those combos translate exactly into this deck and the how to play style as well. So we're going to show you the different and newer combos we have. Let's talk about the good old Ragnaloardmon right here. Very, very simple. There's actually a lot of ways you want to be doing this. You can either play your Legends Arms Alliance when you can, hard drop a Duramon, and then you can eventually just digivolve it into a Durandamon, and then for reduced cost, which is very, very efficient. And then just really making sure that you have a Railudramon in your hand along with this Ragnaloardmon together, and for effectively no cost, you digivolve your Durandamon into a Ragnaloardmon right here by placing the Railudramon, so you gain the 3 memory back. And right here, you guys can see this Ragnaloardmon is stacked with really great inheritables, security +1, reboot, no effects on your no effects from your opponent's Digimon can affect it, no options in security. It does also have the end of turn DNA, but not very necessary. So sometimes, as you continue to play some of your other cards, you can place in Teoludomon, you can place in Zuber Egomon, and just stack even more in really good inheritables. I mean, this guy right here is just super strong right there, you guys can see, which is again why I do really want to actually add an extra copy of this guy. So I might, look into it a little bit more. But anyways, with that being said, that's really just the first combo, and being able to see this guy early in the game sometimes just really helps give you established momentum in the game. Okay, so moving into the other combo, where let's talk about the Baihumon combo into the Ragnaloardmon. This is going to be really, really cool because you can, digivolve your stack in your raising. Doesn't really matter how. Right here, let's just say you're just digivolving as you go. And then, of course, you want to be playing your Legends Arm Alliance just to make sure that you have a level 5 on the board. And at this moment, there's a lot of options. You move out your Duramon, you digivolve it into your Durandamon here, and then you want to be seeing your Baihumon, of course. And Baihumon is just a very great answer against wide boards. The wider your opponent has on their board with Tamers and Digimon, the better value Baihumon basically does have. So there's really cool things you can do. You can actually swing at security with Durandamon, cycle through, play something, play like a Teoludamon, slide it underneath, so then it can get reboot blocker, extra 3,000 security check and whatnot. Really, really good there, and really, there's really not much memory you need to require here, so I'm not just going to go for the memory gauge. But in certain conditions, you can now just digivolve straight into your Baihumon. You chipped away 2 of your opponent's security already. Baihumon now is going to, depending on your opponent's board state of how wide there is, you get to trash more of their security. And sometimes you might pass the memory gauge to your opponent, and then this is when you can use the end of turn DNA. If it doesn't pass to your opponent, you can just play something else, whatever it is, and then what you want to do next is do your end of turn DNA of your Baihumon along together with your Durandamon right here to go into your Ragnaloardmon. Now you have a pretty, big stack as well. You get to trash up to another 2 of your opponent's security and 2 of the Digimon. Comes out with a DNA that's unsuspended, and you can just simply swing for game right there. And it's almost like an OTK combo, which is pretty insane. And this is one of the really cool combos I want to show you guys with the simple addition of Baihumon as well in the deck. That will conclude for my very own deck building strategy and in-depth building guide for the Ragnaloardmon deck profile video. If you guys enjoyed the video and found it helpful, please give it a like. If you have any suggestions, recommendations, or questions, be sure to share it with everyone in the comments down below. Overall, Ragnaloardmon is a super strong Digimon. The deck itself is very interesting with its playstyle, trying to build towards having 2 level 6s in the same time in order to meet the DNA Digivolution requirements to bring out your Ragnaloardmon. However, getting there quickly is one of the biggest challenges that this deck has. But of course, if you do get there, you become almost unstoppable. And these are the trade-offs with the pros and cons when it comes to balancing this deck. But that will wrap up for today's video. If you guys want to see more deck profiles and guides, then be sure to then hit that subscribe button right now. Turn on that notification bell to stay tuned. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. You guys have a great day, great night, wherever you are. See you in the next video. This is Avault, signing out.